Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Coffee with Katie. I have my Navarro Starbucks Been There mugs. This is the way. So I am feeling a little bit under the weather. I'm not really sure what happened, to be honest. I think I had an allergy attack on like Thursday. I think that's either carrying over or I have a very slight cold because I don't feel completely sick, but I definitely don't feel 100% normal. So I apologize if my voice is off or if my energy level is a little low. I'm gonna try to film several things today. We'll see how that goes. But today's video is going to be my March reading wrap-up. Today is March 30th, but I am not gonna be finishing a book in the next 2 days. So we're just gonna go ahead and do this wrap-up. And I read quite a few books this month, so you know, grab a snack or a drink or something, because I'm hoping it won't be super long, but I feel like it's always longer than I think it's gonna be. Because my brain is not functioning completely, I'm sorry if my recall of the book is not at its peak or my thoughts are jumbled. The first book that I read, I started this at the end of February and it carried over into March, was Bride by Ali Hazelwood. This is her first paranormal romance book. If you've been on this channel or just around the book community, you've probably heard of Ali Hazelwood with the Love Hypothesis. She came out with a paranormal romance. I was very intrigued and I was able to listen to it on Libby, and then I really liked it, so I picked up a copy. This was good. It wasn't my favorite Ali Hazelwood book ever. It does have the Ali Hazelwood writing that we know and love, except this time make it paranormal. I enjoyed this. I love the humor and the style that Ali Hazelwood writes. I like that you can have like dramatic things happening, dangerous things happening, but she's still able to bring this humorous element to all of her writing, and I really enjoy that. It's funny, even though it can be dark at times. The things that happen in the book, not the humor. I like that she's always able to bring that element into the books, and I also liked that she took the freedom to make her own twists on the vampire and werewolf lore. For instance, vampires have like violet or like lavender, really pretty purple eyes, and werewolves have green eyes, and they also have green blood and purple blood and stuff like that. And it's just really interesting. I like how people can take different mythology or lore and change it to how they want, you know? And the added elements of humor and cuteness were really fun. But like I said, she still intertwines it with the mystery and danger elements. Essentially in this book, you're following a vampire and a werewolf. They're both higher up in the different clans, the vampire and the werewolf clan. They're enemies, and they're in this arranged marriage as an act of peace. Obviously, some people may not want peace between the two, so things can get hairy. But I really liked that Ali Hazelwood delved into paranormal fantasy, and I'm curious to see if she will write anything like this again. And I gave that book 4 stars. The next book that I read that was on my anticipated releases was The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett, and I liked it so much I got a copy of it that's over here for my book haul eventually, but I will go ahead and talk about it today. This is book 1 in the Shadow of the Leviathan series, and I'm not going to get too in-depth with this on my wrap-up because I did do a full book review that is up on my channel now. But I loved this. I gave it 4.5 stars. I really liked this book. I really liked the Sherlock and Watson type duo to solve a mystery. That was really fun. It was really interesting, and the world was really cool, even though it didn't expand upon all of the aspects of the world. I assume we're gonna get that in later books. I don't really know how it's gonna go, if each book, because this is a series, if each book is gonna be its own mystery or if there's gonna be anything tying it together. But it was funny how eccentric the inspector was, and the apprentice has some quirks of his own that is really interesting. You're following his POV, and his POV was interesting to follow, and he does have some secrets and things that he's working through. I enjoyed the humor and the story, and I'm interested to see where this is going to go. If you don't know, this book is about trying to solve a mystery. So the mystery is that they're called onto a crime scene where it seems that a tree has spontaneously erupted from a man, killing him instantly, and they think that there's some dark magic at work. So it's it can be gruesome at times, a little bit sinister, but overall really enjoyed this. This is my first book from this author, and I look forward to more. I also really like this US edition. It's like a hardcover, so it doesn't have a dust jacket, but I like the greenery, and it just fits the book so well. Like I said, I gave that one 4.5 stars, really good. Check out my review for more thoughts. The next one that I was able to read, that I bought this on, I think, Audible. I bought the audiobook a long time ago because I was desperate to read it and thought it sounded so fun, was A Fellowship of Bakers and Magic by J. Penner. This is the first book in the Addenshire series. It's a cozy fantasy series. And this one, it's said to be a mix between the Lord of the Rings and the Great British Bake Off show. I think the Lord of the Rings aspect is more just because of all of the different creatures, like a dwarf and elf, you know, stuff like that. And they have this like small journey, maybe more towards the Hobbit than Lord of the Rings. Like with the hobbits, like them being very like homey people and revolve around food. But the Bake Off is the main point of the book, is that this human character who has no magic ends up getting entered into this Bake Off challenge. And usually if you do not have magic, you're not disqualified, but you probably won't win because the other contestants can use magic, which elevates their status and their ingredients, etc. So you're following this human who ends up going to this baking competition. She enters and she gets in, and there's an elf that kind of befriends her as he invites her to, as he delivers the news that she's accepted into the challenge. She meets a dwarf along the way. It's really fun. It's a really cute and fun book. As someone who loves the Great British Baking Show, that was enjoyable. I had to read this, you know. I liked the aspect of the human being magicless and competing against elves and dwarves and other magical creatures that have more of a, I guess, leverage on her. They can use their magic in the baking. It's a cozy fantasy, so it has lots of descriptions of the baking, of the food, of the recipes. So if you're not looking for that, maybe not this book, but I really liked that. I liked that aspect of this, and it's what I was looking for when I heard about it. I would love to eat her creations, and I think the recipes are actually in the physical book if you buy it. I will say that it felt like the plot could have been developed a little bit more, but if you're in this for a cute, cozy read, that's what it is, that's what it gives you. So if you don't care that much and you just wanted something light and fluffy and fun, this is it, you know? You got it. I do wish there had been more on the page competition, because while it does give you the different challenges and whatever that they're baking, I feel like there's some of them that kind of skip over a little bit, and I would have liked more of them. I would have liked to see the competition on the page more, but it was a really short read, and overall it was cute, and I am going to read the next book because I think it follows the dwarf and a dragon in a bookstore, which is fun. It does kind of feel a little bit like Legends and Lattes, but I don't think the storyline is similar at all, so it's not like a copycat. It's just a cozy fantasy with a lot of the same elements with books and food. So I'm not saying it's a copycat, but I think some people may make comparisons about that. But I gave this 3 stars. Like I said, I'm going to continue the series. It was cute. If you want a fun, fluffy read, read it. Okay, this next one really, really caught me by surprise, and that is Devil of Dublin by B.B. Easton. This is kind of marketed as an Irish mafia dark romance with steeped in Irish folklore, and that's pretty accurate, except the mafia elements, I would say, are much less than you would think hearing that. This book was dark, sad, mysterious, and had fairy tale-like elements in this. It was very fairy tale-like. I would say to be sure to look at the triggers before you read this book if you're sensitive to triggers at all or highly sensitive to specific triggers and some explicit content. This book talks a lot about abuse as a child or as an adult, and how trauma and PTSD can come into play later on in life or while you're growing up. The story itself was actually really good. The beginning of the two children it's the two main characters meet as children, so the beginning of the two children forming a friendship was so beautiful and sad. The story starts to go pretty fast-paced once they're adults and more scary. And there were a couple of parts, I would say, with the romance that seemed a little unrealistic to me, but the mafia or crime aspects were kind of tense. I loved the ending. And I would also encourage you to read the author's note at the end. The story is inspired by her own family and the travesties that are done to the people who are exploited by those in power, and it was heartbreaking. I'm not one that cries when I'm reading books because it's fiction, it's not real, whatever. But when I got to the author's note and I was listening to it, that hit me. I teared up. It's very powerful, it's very emotional, it's very sad. It's hard to hear, but it's also important to be aware of it. And overall, I would say that this was hauntingly beautiful, and the Irish folklore elements were really, really fun. So this is not a fantasy, don't go into it thinking it is, but it is kind of a dark romance. But I would say this is more on the side of dark romance that I can handle, because I don't know if I can get into like Haunting Adeline, you know what I'm saying? But I actually like kind of fell in love with this. I gave it 4 stars, and I think about it, and I'm really glad I did give this a shot, even though it's not usually my genre. And after that dark book, we took a hard turn, and then I read Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. And like most of the world, I fell in love with this. I thought it was so fun. I thought I would like it, but I didn't think I would love it. It was like so cute and funny, but also the fairy elements were sinister. I really enjoyed it. This book was really good. I didn't know what I necessarily thought this book would be. I just thought, okay, she's studying them and that's it. Like, I don't know. I didn't know what to expect, but I thought it would be fun. But it was just so much better. It was so much better than I thought it would be. I think I thought it would be more slow-paced and academic, but the academic portions were fascinating and the pacing was really good. So it just like drew you in, and I finished this really quickly because it was shorter, but it was also just so fun. The characters, the situations, the banter, the danger, all of it was just really fun and interesting. I love Emily and Wendell. They're both such cute characters, and when they get to banter together, it's so fun. The setting was also really vivid, and the fairies were scary and tricky, which I feel like is refreshing to have like these fae type creatures be more scary and sinister and actually like fairies and not like high fae that are just like humanoids with powers. So that was refreshing and fun. It was really, really good. I don't know. I'm glad I finally read this and I look forward to book 2. But if you don't know what this is about, you're following Emily Wilde, who is on this academic excursion to study these fairies in this cold environment. I haven't heard a ton of people talk about this in depth, but I didn't know that she traveled somewhere into like the north, like it's snowing, like it's cold, you're being snowed in, you have to have a fire to keep warm. I thought this was like some summer book. I don't know why. Anyway, it's not, it's cold. And so she's studying those types of fairies, and it was just really interesting that she travels and she's like kind of taking care of herself, and then her friend from her university ends up like dropping in unannounced, and she's like, how could he be here? I have work to do. And he's just this like eccentric funny character where he's like chasing her because her skirt is a mess and he's trying to fix it for her. It's just, I really enjoyed this. He's kind of spoiled, and their humor with each other, a little bit of the romantic elements that come out, everything about this was so good and very fun, and I'm very glad that I finally read this. This was also in my Buzzword Book Challenge, so I had to get to it. But this was 5 stars, so good. I will read Map of the Otherland soon. The next one that I read is Unbroken Bonds by Jay Bree. This is book 6 in the Bonds That Tie series, and the reason I'm not holding it up is because I'm getting rid of him. Okay, here's the thing. I really liked books 1 and 2. Like, I felt so hooked. Books 1 and 2, I felt so hooked. I felt like they had me in a chokehold. I was like, I have to know what happens. This is so good. I'm getting sucked in so fully. Like, this is so good. And then I felt like the storyline just went really down for me, and I didn't really care. And I felt like it got more about like random spice scenes, and the storyline just dragged out. I felt like it shouldn't have been 6 books. I feel like if it was gonna be 6 books, more should have happened in the plot. So it just went down for me, and my enjoyment followed. And it's just sad. That's sad, because I really, really liked the first 2, but these I just didn't really like, and I gave this 2 stars, and that hurts me because I really liked the other one. I really liked the beginning of this series, and then I just felt like I started to not care, and then I got to and then I thought, okay, well, book 3 and book 4 went downhill for me. Maybe book 5 will be better. And then I read book 5 and I was like, I was okay. And then I was like, well, maybe book 6 will wrap it all up. And it does wrap it up. But I was just like, why was this 6 books? I don't know. I was just kind of disappointed in it. And I realized that I don't really like the whole series that much. I just liked the first couple of books. And if that's the case, then I don't need fancy special editions of it. I'm unhauling these and passing them along to somebody else that will really enjoy them. I'm sad that I did not become one of those people. And this is a very hyped series, but I don't understand it after reading all of it, why the entire series is so hyped. Yeah, I'm sad. I'm disappointed because I was really hoping I was gonna love this. And like I said a million times, I loved the first 2, but this series just isn't for me, I found. I would say though, overall, if you think this sounds interesting to you, then you should give it a shot. People like it for a reason, so read it if you want to. I didn't like how little plot and progression of the plot there was, but that's not a problem for some people, so do with that what you will, but this was not a winner for me, and it's going to a new home. And then for my shelf challenge, I read The Devil Makes 3 by Tori Balvolino. And this is a dark academia book. It's following two characters that go to this university, and they break into this like restricted section of the library to find magical books, and the male main character wants to find a grimoire to see if he can heal his sick mother, and the other character just like wants to help him and kind of gets drug into it and works at the library. So she works at the library and she gets drug into it, and they end up getting this book and kind of unleashing the devil onto people. And that the way that happens is not how I was picturing it, and it's kind of bizarre and creepy and a little bit horror-esque, which is fine. I expected some of that, but just the way it happened, I wasn't expecting. So this was just okay, you know. I liked the dark academia setting in a world where you can have magic. I liked that setting. It was interesting. The creepy elements of the devil / demon were done pretty well. Like, it was creepy and sinister, but it wasn't exactly horror, but it was close, if you know what I'm saying. It towed the line, but I appreciated that because I think I'm a wimp when it comes to horror. Some of it was kind of strange or hard to follow with how fast things would shift sometimes. You're just like, whoa, what's happening? But overall, it was fine. The ending was weird. I don't know how I feel about that or what it was trying to convey necessarily, but I wasn't a big fan. And this is the Illumicrate edition, which I think is absolutely beautiful, but I'm a little bit sad I didn't like it more. I ended up giving it 3 stars, so it wasn't bad, but I'm not sure this is gonna stick around in my collection for long. But I would say if you really, really like Dark Academia, give it a shot, see if you like it. It is set in Pennsylvania, which I did not know when I picked it up. It's kind of creepy. Yeah, I don't know much more to say about this, but I read it. Okay, the next one was kind of a surprise. I read my TBR faster than I thought I was going to, and so I just had extra room in the month to add more books to it. So I went ahead and read Truth Witch because I found it on Libby and I was able to finish it. I'd started this a long time ago and I had been meaning to start this series, read this series for a long time, so I finally finished Truth Witch. So I liked this. I picked it back up, like I said, after putting it down a long time ago, and I was about 80 pages in, so I kind of caught up to where I already was. I could fill in the gaps a little bit, but I may not have had every single detail straight, so that could affect this a tiny bit, not much. So it did take me a minute to get reacclimated to the story, but I really like the magic system and the characters. There's a lot of things going on because it follows 4 different characters' POVs. The Blood Witch in particular, really interesting character, really like following him. He's also kind of the villain, so of course I love him. Look at my shirt. But this is just kind of like a straight up adventure story, and it's fun. Everyone's on this like quest and they're on the run, and everyone's fast paced, and everyone's got this thing they're working towards, and everyone's rushing to do it first, you know. I'm glad I finally had the chance to finish this, and I will continue the series, but essentially you're following the main character who is a truth witch, which is extremely rare, and it means that she can tell when people are lying, which you can see how that would be very attractive for political gain. And so she's trying to hide that she is what she is, and a blood witch catches her scent, which means that he can track her. Once he gets the scent of your blood, he can track you forever. And so she's on the run and trying to escape the situation. She also ends up in this weird political situation that she's also running away from, and there's a prince that is a wind witch, and they end up crossing paths and having to work together, and he's trying to keep her safe as well because he made a deal with her uncle. And there's just a lot of pieces at play. It seems like it's going to be very political, but the magic is really, really cool because, like I said, she's a truth witch, so that's part of her magic, but there's a lot of different elements and witches. There's like fire witches, wind witches, blood witches, which is also super rare. Sight witches, like so many different things. There are so many different elements and magics at play, which I think make this book really interesting, and I think why, even though it's an older series, has had some hype or some following for a while. So I love that. I love the Witchlands world and will continue to read, but overall I gave it 3.5 stars because I did like it, but it's not like, it didn't blow me out of the water, but it's also very interesting. So I did enjoy this. And then I actually read this book, and it was on my anticipated releases, but I wasn't really planning on reading it this soon, and it just came up on Libby, and so I was like, okay, why not? And that is The Book of Doors by Gareth Brown. And honestly, this had me intrigued, but I thought I'm gonna pick it up and it's gonna be like 3 stars or less, because sometimes that happens to me where I pick up book that's an anticipated release, but it's not like a fantasy book that I've been really excited about, or I'm intrigued, but I'm not like super hyped, and I just didn't know how to feel. But I actually really, really liked this book. It kind of surprised me, and I honestly can't decide if it should be 4.5 stars or 4 stars. So it's in between, but I did technically rank it at kind of 4 stars. But this was cool. It was a unique book. The premise is that the main character finds a book, or is given a book, and it is called the Book of Doors. And it says any door is every door, and she realizes that this is magic. And she opens a door to her hallway, and she's suddenly looking out at Venice, Italy. And she walks out, and she can be in Venice, Italy, and then she can come right back into her apartment. And so she kind of realizes how crazy magical this book is, and she's figuring out how she can use it. And her roommate is warning her that this cannot be safe because things like this always have a cost. And then a stranger shows up and tells her she's in danger, and they start going on the run, essentially, because people are trying to get to her to get to the book. So this was cool. It was really unique, I thought. I guess the premise, if you were to read it, you would think it's not unique, but I thought it was really unique. The magic of the books was really whimsical yet sinister, depending on the book. There's a myriad of books, and it was interesting all at the same time. Like, it was just so cool. I liked this much more than I thought I would. I liked that the story wasn't flippant and that there was dangerous elements and complex situations that they're navigating. I actually really liked how it was written as well, and how things didn't always go the way you thought they were gonna go, and there were some elements where I was like, oh, well, this is gonna happen, and then it didn't. And something else happened that I wasn't expecting. And I was intrigued but skeptical when I saw this book and thought, you know, again, like maybe it'll be a 3-star read. But I'm really glad I gave it a shot, and I really enjoyed it. I would recommend you pick this up if you're interested in it, because it was better than I thought it was gonna be. I'm not gonna lie, when people compare things to Erin Morgenstern books, I get scared, because The Night Circus was okay, but it was not what I thought it was gonna be. And when I read The Starless Sea, it's like the worst book I've ever read in my life. And I know that's a hot take, because I know some people love that book, but it was compared to like Erin Morgenstern, and I was like, oh no. But no, I really, really loved this. It was really, really interesting and good. Please read it if you're curious. I want a copy now. And the last book that I was able to read in March was City of Thorns by C.M. Crawford. This was just kind of like on a whim. I saw that the graphic audio was on Everand, and it was like 5 hours, and I was like, I can do that in like a couple days. So I went ahead and did it, and it's been on my shelf for a while. So these are the fake rate editions that I'm holding up. The cover that you're familiar with looks a little bit different. But this is book 1 in the Demon Queen Trials. And I'm not gonna lie, this was better than I thought it was gonna be. You're following the main character who goes out on her like 21st birthday or something to get drinks, and she ends up getting taken by this demon because he thinks that she is a succubus that he has sworn to kill and get revenge on. And her mother was also killed by a demon, and she wants revenge on them. And I didn't know this going into the book, but in this world, they know that demons exist, and the City of Thorns is an actual city where the demons live. And you can only live there if you're a demon or you have like special reasons to be there. There's a university where humans can learn magic, but you have to pay to be there, and then it grants you permission. So this city in particular is, you can only live, like I said, you can only live there if you're a demon. So if you're not a demon, you will be found and killed, essentially. And the humans and the demons had a war. The humans came out on top, and so they have this like fragile peace so that they can't kill each other. But if you're in their territory, fair game kind of a thing. So this was, like I said, this was better than I thought it was going to be, honestly. It wasn't as spicy as I assumed it would be, which I really appreciated. And I liked the world. It was interesting. Some of the characters and situations were a little cringe, but I am curious about the mystery elements that came out in this story, and I do want to continue the series. It's also a very short read because it was only like 5 hours as the audiobook, and the graphic audio was really fun. I'm curious to see what's going to happen. Oh, and they strike a deal. He realizes that she's not the succubus, and they strike a deal to get revenge together. Sorry, I didn't mention that. Anyway, I liked it. I'll continue the series. I don't think it's going to be a favorite, but I did give it 3.5 stars. Well, those are all the books that I was able to read in March. It was quite a bit this month, honestly. And I'm currently reading Sunbringer, so we'll see how that goes. Comment down below and let me know what your favorite read of March was. Thank you so much for watching, but for now, that is it for today's video. Please like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I will see you next time. Stay safe and caffeinated. Bye!